learning for a year who I was beyond what I did. And with athletes, we're celebrated all the time for what we can accomplish. Mm-hmm. So when no one cares for you and you're sitting on a couch alone for a year, who are you?
Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast, a space where we embrace our marks acquired through our journey. My name is Elizabeth Savillon, and welcome to another episode of this podcast. I am here at Hi Hello Labs in downtown Orlando in this beautiful studio space. If you haven't already, make sure to check them out for any studio, podcast, audio needs, and they have different rooms and setups that they can help you for anything that you need. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. All of that helps to grow the Beauty Marks podcast community, and I love hearing your guys' feedback. I am thrilled for today's guest because she is someone that is very diverse in what she does. She's an author, she's a speaker, she's an entrepreneur, and she works hand in hand with her husband, and she is a former athlete, has a lot of different assets and things about her that just make her someone that I wanted to have a conversation to bring and encourage and bring life to you guys. So I want to welcome Yvana
Thank you so
Hepburn
much.
Bailey to the podcast. Welcome to Beauty Marks Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited.
Thank you. Honestly, first I have to say that color looks stunning on you.
Thank you.
And she is a makeup queen. Like, we need to talk a little bit about that. Like, please give me some insights.
Yes.
What is your routine? Because your skin is glowing.
Thank you.
What do you use?
Thank you. A lot.
Okay, you're like, this didn't happen overnight.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Lots of practice.
Okay.
I'm super creative. So I'm always trying to make sure whatever I feel on the inside reflects on the outside, you know?
I love that.
And a lot of times there's quotes about how you feel on the inside really it transcends your image. If you're feeling crappy, bring forth life in how your image looks. So as a confidence coach, I'm always making sure I am dressed to the T because I love it too. I love fashion. I love makeup.
Yeah, it's like for you.
Really.
Oh,
it is always for me.
Yeah, because people think that we're just doing it for like other people. I'm like, no, it's for me. I do that.
This is how I feel.
Yeah. You're like, this helps me to show up the best.
That's
that
right.
I can.
Authentically. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I love that.
Thank
and
you.
so how you said that you're a confidence coach.
Yes,
were
ma'am.
you always in that space of feeling confident? Because I know you've worked you've done a lot of different things. You've been an athlete.
Yes.
So can you share a little bit about your journey?
Of course. So my journey starts in athletics, and that has given me by far the most confidence. Knowing who you truly are from the inside out and knowing that you have a strong conviction in who you are, that is like what sets the platform and sets the stage. So in the athletic world, for those of you that are athletes, understand you are always performing at a level of excellence. You're always trying to perform at a level where you can get that reward, And so for me, learning how to conquer fear, learning how to arrive when you don't feel like doing something, when you don't feel like competing, it really does mean a lot to be able to take your feelings, your emotions, circumstances of life, and to be able to perform under pressure.
Yeah.
And so for years, I've been competing since I've been in the third grade.
Wow.
And my whole life had a vision of the Olympics. That was my whole goal. In 2016 Olympics is when I stopped. My career has pivoted so many times because I've allowed myself not to be locked into identity in my position or in my career, but I allowed myself the flexibility to be like, I love fashion.
Yeah.
I know.
There we go.
Boom. So when you start to understand your skill set and your talents, you can maneuver in life so easy. And I went from athlete on the track to COO of a fashion company, and then right into my biggest platform, which was speaking, modeling, and acting. And those have afforded me a lot of room to understand what confidence and comfort and discomfort looks like.
You said that so well, because I feel like we sometimes have a lot of passions and things that we enjoy.
Absolutely.
But we kind of feel like, okay, what if this stops working, or what if this doesn't work anymore for me? What am I going to do now? So
That's
learning
right.
how to pivot well
Yes.
and learning to
Yes.
be open to that, because that's
Yes.
how life is.
Yes.
So you were an athlete for a
Long
big,
time.
a big part of your story.
Yes.
So can you share, like, first, what kind of sport were you in?
course.
And then how did that transition out?
Yeah, of course. So I ran track and field. I ran the 100 hurdles, which is not an easy event or discipline at all. I love being able to look at life and say, there's hurdles in my way, but I'm getting over it. I love victory stories. I love finishing the race. And so my commitment to myself was to take my career as far as I could take it. And I fortunately was able to attend the 2012 Olympic trials. And then for 2016, that's when my career ended. But it was so cool because I started noticing that whether you're an Olympian, whether you're a professional athlete or a developmental athlete, there are levels to understanding that this is going to end. And a lot of people aren't prepared for that.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that in 2016 because that was my goal. I'd worked so hard to qualify for my country and represent as a champion. And unfortunately, when you're blindsided in life, that can lead to depression, which I actually had, athletic depression. It can lead to an instability in your identity, and it can lead to heartbreak. So after learning how to pivot, first, I didn't even pivot first.
You struggled a little bit before.
Yeah, exactly. Let's be real. I sat in a seat of depression that shaped everything. Sometimes people rush out of things. I sat in it because I've never been there. I never knew what that was like. And I knew that if I was going to help people as a coach moving forward, I need to have some source of credibility. So learning for a year who I was beyond what I did, beyond, the accolades. And that's another thing with athletes, we're celebrated all the time for what we can accomplish. So when no one cares for you and you're sitting on a couch alone for a year, who are you?
Wow.
And that was very difficult, but I allowed myself time to grieve. I allowed myself time to sit in it. I allowed myself time to cry, to be angry. I didn't rush out of anything. I know I'm a woman, I know I'm an athlete, but I'm also a soul, so I let those emotions be real and to kind of show me how I felt, because sometimes we even suppress things because we have to just get the job done. I didn't have a job anymore. So it was time to just to really understand who I was, and so bless God, he walked me through that whole journey. And after that journey was done, I had a choice to make. I could either go back into the very sport that really didn't celebrate me anymore, or and with much risk, or I could pivot. And I could pivot into purpose. And that is huge because it was hard to sit in that seat. But once I started understanding that when you're seated in a seat, your expectations and other people's expectations can propel you forward because people are like, okay, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out.
But they believe in you too.
They do.
They're
and
like,
it's very
I
important
see
to have
it.
Community. That's right. And I did have a tight-knit community. I had a therapist. I had a best friend that walked me through what it's like to give grace to yourself, how it looks to have compassion for oneself. And I started learning and adopting those practices for my own. And after that, I said, okay, I'm good at this, and I have the talents and skills, abilities. So what can I do to maximize who I am? What can I do? And that's when modeling and acting and a community opened up to me and said, this is what you can do with that. And it might look different than athletics, but it's still a performance. It's still something you have to develop into and practice into. And that's all she wrote.
So it shaped you to help you for that absolutely. Next season.
Are you kidding me?
Because I hear you say, and I love first, thank you for your vulnerability because I feel like that's a gift to give. And I know that some people from the outside can be like, well, she got it all together now, but there's still struggles that shape you.
Of course, absolutely.
How did what you went through prepare you for then what you went into?
Beautifully asked. So the demand and the pressure of always having to be on, no matter what kind of day, no matter what you're feeling as a female, no matter what physiologically happens to your body, you have to perform, right? So in that performance, when I started pivoting into acting and modeling, it didn't matter how I felt. It didn't matter what was going on, but I had to perform under pressure. And learning the industry was a learning curve, obviously. Like you go from the track into the big screen into cameras, lights, action, still the same thing, but just you have to learn, And so I felt most prepared because I had to do it anyway. I always had to do something out of fear. I always had to do something out of my own comfort zone. And then when I started mastering how to level myself and how to control that adrenaline, anxiety, excitement, we like to say excitement as opposed to fear, how to control all that and be able to deliver the talent and the skills that I had for a project, it was like, okay, okay, this is an easier thing than I thought.
Yeah.
Because athletics, when you are disciplining your body day in and day out, I think that's the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because your flesh cries out, I don't want to do something. I'm not doing something.
And it's like a mental thing mostly, right?
The mindset.
Yes.
The mindset is where you win and where you lose. So for years, understanding who I am under pressure, how to control my thoughts, emotions, and abilities in the scope of getting it done and performing, it really became easy for me to pivot into other platforms.
Yeah. So
of course,
for someone that maybe hasn't walked through that as an athlete,
right.
Can you share a little bit of insight of how it is behind the scenes of like, what are the pressures that you have? How is it? Because like us as humans, right, we have like a capacity, but I feel like athletes perform at a different level. Like I feel like they're built different. They are built different. So how did you navigate that? Like for you to like have a hard day, but like did that mess with your mental health? Like being in that, or did that help you?
For the purpose of understanding vision is the best way to look at it. When you understand what you want to do in life and when you understand your purpose, nothing else shakes it. I felt so tunnel vision. That's another thing. Like I wasn't looking at acting, modeling, being a coach, having business. I wasn't looking at that at that time because I was so one track minded, which also was a disadvantage because when it's taken away, you're left with, okay, now what? You know, it was hard. It was definitely hard. But for anyone that navigates a new position or lets go of their dream or something tragic happens to where they were shaken so bad that they lost their footing, you know, and they lost what they really wanted. I always suggest that when you take time to sit in your emotion and to sit in what you always dreamed of becoming, that can start to shift yourself out of the position of pain and start to put you onto platforms. So I knew, yes, I wanted to be an athlete for my whole life and I really wanted to be able to coach, and I did that. It was wonderful. But then when that ended, I said, okay, now I have to be of service to other people. It's no longer about me. And as athletes, it's always about us. It's always about you, your lane, your position, your team. And the pressures of that are unreal, okay? You have coach pressure, you have committee pressure, you have federation pressure, you have nation pressure. There's pressure everywhere. And everybody expects you to perform no matter what. However, when you take yourself out of the situation, when you take yourself out of the identity and you say, okay, pause. I'm still a human. Yeah. And I think that's what people forget. I'm still a human. I still have emotions. I still have dreams. And you sit and you separate your identity and you say, well, what can I do that will lead to impact? And I started thinking that way, bigger. Because if I'm just stuck on the track and accomplish that and then it ends, now who am I going to impact? It's over. So if you're at a job, if you are a stay-at-home mom, if you are an entrepreneur, and let's say you have to pivot, you still have to lock into who you are and what your vision and dream has always been. Because I promise you, it will help you to see that it's not about you. It's not about you. Yeah. That's the craziest part.
I know. We're like, it's about you until it's not. Actually, no. And then you're able to service other people. And I feel like that also helps you. Anyone that I feel like makes it, they always talk about that. And we sometimes lose it on our way up. We're like, no, it's about me. And like the competition. But it's so important to still have that vision of like, how can what I'm doing help other people?
That's right. When I started seeing that and understanding and adopting that, it's kind of tough to adopt that. You can hear it, but when you start to hone that in, you're like, okay, so if it's not about me, what is it about? It's about legacy. Yeah. It's about how I carried the torch as far as I could carry it. Now, how can I help others do that? How can I help my lineage do that, you know? And my husband and I, when we wrote our book, it was very difficult to be able to navigate a product of my life, my testimony, what I've been through, the trials, ups and downs, and help others understand how to navigate that, how to propel themselves forward, how to launch them into their purpose, you know? So I always suggest if there's something that you can contribute to people, do it. Yeah. Because I had no idea it was going to help so many people. I had no idea. Yeah. I was like, this is my story. I feel hurt, but I also overcame. But yeah, it's just me because I'm very private. But then putting it out there, no idea was going to help people.
Yeah.
None. But that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Being able to pivot into your purpose and being able to leverage your platform, it's everything.
Yeah. So you built a lot of discipline.
Right.
And so for someone that maybe is struggling with that, is there any tips that you have for building that discipline?
Discipline is ultimately self-control. If you don't have the fruit of self-control, it's going to be very hard to have discipline in any area of your life. As an athlete, we're trained all the time to have discipline, right? So that became inherent. I can't say it became easy, it became inherent. When you're struggling, you have to first say, why am I struggling? Most of the time, people can't be disciplined because they lack confidence in who they are. They lack confidence in the fact and the abilities of, this is what I'm meant to do, and I have to get out of my way. I have to get out of my way. That's the biggest thing I can say, because once you start to remove your identity out of the picture, you just get it done because you have to. People are depending on you.
Yeah.
If you work at a job, if you work at a 9 to 5, if you work for a CEO, they are depending on you to fulfill a role, right? So if you're indolent, if you're lethargic or lazy, you have to check yourself and be like, why am I really doing this? And why am I getting so in the way of progress? That's really what it is. Why am I in the way?
Yeah.
Get yourself out the way. It's not about you.
Yeah. Share a lot about confidence. And that's how I love how you just started talking about that. Because I'm like, I think that is really, sometimes we don't see ourselves in a certain way. And then we show up in that way. Wherever we go, and how we, like, even with healing as well, like we talked a little bit about that that you shared. It's like, if you're not able to work through certain things, then you're not able to show up a certain way. So how have you always been confident?
Yeah.
Because you definitely radiate and give a lot of confidence. So I love that. I'm like, please, like, taking that on for
there
myself.
You go, smacked in the face. Boom.
But so how have you been able to show up that way?
Of course. So I come from a very strict family, a very disciplined family, a very, I would say, not privileged, but practice family. And so when you have a community and a village support you and train you in the way of, here's accomplishment, you can achieve it, go get it.
Yeah.
Just go get it. Nothing's stopping you. And early in life, I started to make my own rules. I get that that's discipline, right? But for my life, I started saying, okay, this is what I dream of. I dared myself to dream. I did not allow someone else's boxing or someone else's projections to limit me. So once I started doing that, I said, okay, these are my goals. This is what I want to accomplish. Now, I cannot let the voice of someone else diminish who I am. If I'm meant to be which is funny, let me go back. When I was younger, I was deemed theatrical, dramatic, commanding the stage, like firstborn syndrome, I guess.
Okay.
Like
you had that energy, main character energy.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And at one point in my life, people started to diminish that narrative and try to tell me to tone it back, tone it back.
Less.
Everybody can't handle that, right? If God made you to be someone with the ability and characteristics that you have, that's what you're supposed to take. That's how you're supposed to leverage your gifts, your skills, and your abilities and your talents, and launch into that.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea that if I let those words cap me, I wouldn't even be sitting here. That's how deep that goes.
Yeah.
So I always encourage, especially my clients that are mothers, I always encourage them. Watch the words that you speak over your children. Be very careful what you project over them.
Yeah.
Especially if your dream didn't get fulfilled. My dream, I didn't feel like it was complete with the Olympics. I didn't. But for my child, I'm going to celebrate every gift that they have. I'm going to be like, okay, this is what I see. Now let's help you, and I'm going to support you in this. I'm going to pay for you to do this. Yeah. And I think when you have community and you have your own voice of, I'm going to just do it anyway. I feel theatrical, and I'm never going to hide that. And your gift will open doors for you. Yeah. Your gift will make room for you. That's the craziest part I've seen over my life. My gift has been making room for me.
Yeah.
And when you have confidence in that, it's over. It's over. So to the one that has diminished confidence, first, it could be life, right? Life happens. There could be major situations. But if you're navigating out of depression, if you're navigating out of lack of identity or whatever the issue is, I always say, yes, sit in it. I always coach my clients, sit in that first, right? And then when you sit in it, start to make a list. What am I good at? What are my strengths? What are my talents? What are my abilities, right? Then what have other people said about them? When you listen to the whispers in the wind, which we have a beautiful chapter in our book about that, you start to hear, wait a minute, I'm too theatrical. That means I'm going to be on stage. That means I got to keep working at the gift God gave me, right? Okay, wait, I'm very organized or I'm bossy. I might be a CEO one day. Let me work towards that. I switch the narrative and do mental reframing all the time. Because that points to my future and my destiny. But if I'm thinking from a negative scope, and if I embrace that and say, dang, I'll never be enough, I won't be able to perform, I won't be able to leverage my gifts, I'm done. And my gifts are like, no, forget all that. They're pointing you to a destination. Use that, work that, leverage it, you know?
Yeah, and use it to your advantage.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes like when like the words bossy or that can be something that people take on a certain thing, but maybe it's a skill that we have to learn how to master.
Absolutely.
You know, versus like, okay, the negative connotation of what bossy looks like versus a way of like, okay, let me see how to be better, like a better leader.
Come on,
you know,
said
in
it
that
right,
space.
girl, you said it right.
Because I feel like, especially as a woman too.
Woo! Talk about it.
We can come off a certain way.
Yes, it's true.
So I love how you frame that, because I feel like we can sometimes be like, oh, then I have to be less of that. And so what you're saying is like hone into it to be more
absolutely
of that.
Embrace it. And let me say this. With the stereotype and projections over women being bossy, right? The problem is, I just listened to a speaker, gifted speaker. He talked about how to thrive in a man's world. Deep, right? So women are fighting, women are positioning. A lot of things changed after World War II. Women had to leave the home and start to be infiltrated in making weapons and making bullets for the soldiers overseas, right? Their husbands. And so as I'm listening to him talk, he said, there is a narrative of the shift of leadership that happened for women. They couldn't control that. If someone's calling you out of the home and saying, now you have to be responsible, you have to help provide and do that with efficiency for our country. Okay, so that means I have to take on a role of leadership that is assigned to a project, and I'm helping to accomplish a task and a mission. So if that looks bossy, well, that's what you're asking me to be like, right? Okay, but then the words, if I hear bossy, I go into my head, change that, I'm a strong leader. Boom, I have the ability to delegate over employees. Boom, I have the communication skills it takes to be able to effectively lead from the ground up. That's how you switch the narrative. And that's how you hone it and also empower yourself with it. Because I have worked with CEOs that have put their head down in the office, that have even employees come into in the workplace and they're just like, I want to be more confident, right?
Yeah.
I want to dress the way I want to dress. I want to express myself more. I have an idea, but I'm afraid to share it. I'm like, okay, but who said you couldn't?
Yeah.
If someone clearly says you can't and they're your superior, okay, listen with wise counsel, right? But if someone is just waiting on you to speak and you're in your own mind saying, I can't, I don't have what it takes, well, then you have to deal with the root of that insecurity. And then you need to arrive authentically, because if that's who you are, there are people that are waiting for you to be the leader. Yeah. There are other women that are it's inspiring and aspiring to be like you, aspiring higher. That's exactly what it looks like. And so it's a practice. It's not easy. It's years of practicing how to build that confidence. But once you have a strong conviction of who you are, you don't let anybody stop that. Yeah. Period.
Yeah. I struggled with insecurity a lot growing up. And I feel like confidence, when it came to like how you were saying, I was always in front of the camera growing up. But because I felt like I didn't fit the image of what the beauty standards, certain things like that,
let's talk about beauty
then
marks.
I started being like, you know what? No, like that's not a place for me, you know, until I get here, until I look this way, then I will be able to fit that. Now, right? Like now in my 20s, I'm able to show up and I don't, that doesn't hinder me anymore.
Why would it?
But for a long time it did. It stopped me. And it was like the calling was still there on my life, right?
Come on.
But I was literally the one that was saying that narrative towards myself instead of being like, why can't I say that? This is what beauty can look like too.
Absolutely.
And I can make
beautiful.
Space for it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I can make space for women that feel like they don't fit in this mold.
Come on.
Versus saying, okay, no, I have to look this way or change or act this way. Because even my personality type, growing up, I was very passive. So the way I would communicate was like very like nice, you know, but like I would diminish my needs. And that wasn't needed. You know what I mean? And
Correct.
so figuring out like what my style is, like, wait, my voice matters.
Absolutely.
You know, like I belong somewhere. If that opportunity was given to me, I need to walk in there like I belong.
Come
you know?
on.
So it's like so many of those things that have been shaped, and maybe someone listening has that narrative.
Oh, yes.
And so do you see that a lot with people when it comes to confidence, of either how they see themselves outward, like, you know, their outward appearance, or maybe how they show up in relationships? Like, how does confidence play a part in that?
Whole mouthful there. First, thank you for saying that, because you're not the only one. And we're never alone. We always feel alone in our own emotions and feelings. But if we're honest and we strip off the masks of people, they're dealing with the same thing, right? Yeah. But you navigated successfully out of that. And I'm really proud of you. And even starting this podcast to encourage, empower, and uplift women, that's gold. So thank you for that. I see a lot of lack of confidence in the clientele that I work with. So I work with executives, I work with leaders and entrepreneurs and professional athletes. On that level, there are masks forever because they have to protect their image, right? Yeah. They have to come across a certain way. In the inside, they're dying. In the inside, they never arrive fully. In the inside, they have no idea how to make lasting impressions. They just made it. That's it. And so when I navigate and I help them through my coaching, I help them to realize first, what was projected over you? Let's go to the root. What has someone spoken over you? Okay, so if you're not good enough, or you're a byproduct of a divorced family, how do you want to reshape your narrative? We rebuild the whole narrative, right? We visualize, we start to mentally frame, okay, this is who they said I was. This is what I've been through. Now, how are we going to get to what you want to be, right? How do you want to arrive and become and belong? A lot of times, I've also seen that a lot of people don't believe they're worth it. A lot of people don't believe that they belong. And so it's very discouraging, because I'm like, look at you. You are a force to be reckoned with, but you don't even see it. And so you start peeling off the layers of doubt, of shame, of guilt.
Let's talk about it.
Peel them all off. Tear the veil, you know, and start to understand, wow, those were projections. That's not me. In that failed relationship, okay, I need to navigate now, because maybe I did have a part in that, but I am bigger, I am better, and I have a legacy I want to develop. So if it's somebody that wants to start over, just start over. Yeah. Easy. If it's somebody that needs to develop more confidence, start realizing what the insecurities are and squash that. Diminish it, destroy it. I usually have my clients write it out, every single thing ever spoken over your life, you even spoke over your life. Because even that, if there are industries, here's another one. If there are industries that have said you don't belong because of what they projected, it's a mirror. They're projecting their image and they're like, okay, here's the standard of beauty. Well, is that the standard of beauty? Because it's not. You go to other countries and it's not, right? Thank God America has developed so much, right? So we're seeing body inclusivity, we're seeing colors, we're seeing everybody represented. The world shades are into one country. Thank God. However, even though it's accepted, what if the person still doesn't believe they belong? I mean, I worked with a client, and thank God I got her signed to a plus size agency. This chick is doing it in LA. She never had the belief in herself that she could make it that far. Never even knew it was possible. I'm bigger. I don't fit a size 4, 6, and 8. What am I going to do? I'm like, we find a place for you. Where's your niche? Okay, cool. There's an agency right there. Let's work to get you booked. Let's work to get you signed. Let's work in your confidence, because when you open that door, they better know who you are and never forget you. That's how I work with my clients. I don't play games, because I've been there. I've been discouraged. I've been defeated. Like in athletics, we have a different body norm, which is the muscular physique, the lean muscular physique. That is not always accepted in a different beauty world, right? So feeling comfortable and confident. And I even work with athletes of a very high profile that have body dysmorphia, have eating disorders. I mean, you think just because they're skinny, they're good. No. Absolutely not. Whether you're larger or you're smaller, the issues are still issues, right? They still come with strongholds. So learning that it's a deeper root on the inside that needs to do that work, and giving yourself grace to do the work within years, within time. There's no pressure.
Let it go. We're the ones that are like, okay, I need to be good by this time.
Why?
I have in the next week.
Said who? Some of the actors, some of the people that I've seen, 60 years old, they've been legends. 60, starting.
Wow.
Starting. So master and develop a level of confidence and start working through what you want to do with your gifts, skills, and abilities. And then destroy the timeline. Destroy it. The pressure of this, the pressure of that will silence those voices.
Yeah. Because you can always reinvent yourself at any age. Start something at any age.
Come on.
Yes.
I always say, as long as you're not dead, you got it. So work it.
I'll just take a pause. You're just sharing a lot of gems today. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation because I feel like there's a lot of us that really stop ourselves, and like we know that we want to be somewhere, or we know we're called, or even maybe we're there, but we still don't feel fulfilled in that. And so I feel like what you're talking about today is very real. That it's like on the outside you can be like, I'm here, but it's like I don't believe it in myself. So I know you wrote a book. With your husband.
Sure did. Yep.
You're like, I sure it's here. Yes. Can you show them?
Of course.
Your beautiful book.
This is our baby, The Flight of Your Life, The Power of Propulsion, which we developed that subtitle because to propel someone forward in life, it takes a lot of momentum. It takes a lot of force. It takes a lot of understanding principles. Compulsion is what most people live by. I have to do this. You have like a glass ceiling over you, right? So we teach how to propel your life forward by understanding your calling, understanding what your destiny looks like, your passion, and then your purpose. Once you understand who you are in those things, the sky is beyond the limit. We always go beyond the limit. Always. We're like, okay, the sky is also a cap. So what's in the stratosphere? What's in the universe? We're going to go all the way above that, you know? But this is, oh man, so proud of this book. So proud. And it's been able to help so many people understand who they truly are beyond what they do, beyond what they've had, beyond the riches, the poor, whatever. That doesn't even matter. Strip all that off. Who are you really, and how are you going to help other people live? How are you going to live and help other people navigate their life forward? Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Honestly, so how can people get their hands on that? Because I feel like what she just shared today is like a glimpse, but I feel like naturally you're always encouraging, empowering people. I appreciate that. I just love that because I feel like you've been through a lot of hardships. Yes, and I know we didn't share everything, but I'm sure it's in there. And get the book. Yes, get the book. But also I feel like we can learn a lot from what people have walked through to not go through the same path. Yes, absolutely. You know? Because experience isn't always, we don't always have to experience hardship like that. No, you can learn. And that's what we do. We put it out there for you to learn. This is what they went through. And then being able to be multi-passionate, that's such a beautiful word that I've started to adopt because when you have different skills and talents, some people be like, well, you just need to do that. Yeah. Well, you just need to do that 9 to 5. Nothing wrong with the 9 to 5, but if I'm built to be an entrepreneur, businesses, that's what I want to do. And that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. But then in the book, we show you what we went through. It's all, transparency to the fullest, you know? And we help you to navigate through it so you can end up on the other side of the mountain. I will never speak and produce a product out of pain and not give you hope. Never. What do you need me for? It doesn't make sense. Where's my credibility? I need you to see what I went through, how I navigated through it, the reality of it, and then how I amassed new levels and platforms because I've started to learn different strategies and principles that have surmounted my life. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And that's in this book. You can get it on Amazon, anywhere books are sold, Barnes & Noble, it's there, and they'll put up the link, I'm sure. But yes, I'll put it in the show notes. And I would love to ask you one last question. What is some piece of encouragement or advice that you want to leave with our listeners from today? Define your narrative. Understand that your time is not over. If you're alive, you're meant to do more. You're meant to do exactly what it is that sometimes you've been holding yourself back because of fear, because of being lazy, because of not even understanding how to be confident. In that case, I always suggest get help. Seek someone that's going to pull you out of what you're in. Or some people may not even be depressed anymore. They may not be at a low point, but they need to go higher. Yeah. I'm always seeking who's going to help me get to that next level. Because if nobody opened up the door for me or pulled a chair to the table, how could I have been sitting with some of the best people I've ever had in my life teach me things about life? So build your community. Understand that if you need help, there are coaches like myself. There are people. There are the resources that are meant to help help you get there. And then if you are a woman specifically, start to embrace those flaws, those beauty marks. Start to embrace the things that people might have said about you that hurt you. Because once I started embracing that, and when I started reframing that, embracing them, reframe, that's my equation, embracing them, reframe, and the end product is a woman who sits in front of you with confidence, but knows what it's like to navigate life, what it's like to reach high, very, very high points of life and understand, I know where I came from in the valley, but I also know what it's like to hit the mountaintop. So definitely embrace who you are, make no apologies for that, and start to seek the community that's going to propel your life and help you to aspire higher.
So good. Thank you so much, Yvana.
Of course,
it's been such a great conversation with you. And I feel like I even feel more empowered and encouraged to embrace and reframe the narratives that have been set over my life.
That's it.
So thank you so much. I will put all their information. Her and her husband work together. And I was telling her that, like, you guys are together all the time.
Yep.
You wrote a book. But I will put her and her husband's information, all the book. And I just really thank you. Your time is valuable to me. And I'm just so thankful that you shared it with us.
Of course. My pleasure. Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's podcast episode. I know that you were encouraged and empowered today. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast, share it with a friend, let someone know what you learned from this episode, and I will see you guys next week.